Hi, this is Jack Westman for ESEAnews.com here in London, England for Gfinity 3 LAN. Joining me this time, Josh Steele-Nissen from iBUYPOWER, probably a familiar face to you guys at ESEA. So first and foremost, Josh, welcome back to London. I know you lived here for over a year. How's the jet lag? When did you guys get in? How is it back? Good. Well, good to be back so far.
Yeah, it's great. I met up with some old colleagues of mine on Thursday afternoon. We arrived Thursday morning after an overnight flight, and I think all of us were really tired. Like my teammates slept throughout the entire day, all the way until like I got home at night. And then, I mean, Friday we tried to find like a boot camp place so that we could warm up. We haven't touched a computer for a few days. Got a haircut.
Nice.
But
looks good. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Otherwise, I think we should be all right for the jet lag. I mean, this morning we got up all right, but I'm feeling a little drowsy right now. But hopefully, I'm able to kick it up with like an energy drink or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You sound like you rehearsed that answer. Okay, so let's talk about your first game in that case. Sure. You just played Fnatic on Dust 2, 15-all was the score in the end. Talk us through that game. Was that as you expected?
We were hoping to maybe win. It was a lot closer than we thought it would be, in the sense that we had a 6-0 lead at the start, and then we kind of like threw away around here and then around there, and we had to eco because of it, and it kind of snowballed out of like our control. We had a 6-0 lead, and then it ended up being an 8-7 half. Yeah. And then we won the pistol in the second half, and then we lost the following round to an eco. So I mean, anytime we kind of took control of something, we always lost control as well. So it didn't go exactly the way that we wanted it to. We're not satisfied. None of us are satisfied.
What do you attribute those mistakes to?
It could be us getting, maybe we're a little tired. There were some problems with the servers.
Yep.
There's some problems with our tables. They had to bring in another table. We had problems with the power. The power in the entire room went out. So all those had to be fixed. And I mean, our first game, like we were here at 8:20, we didn't get to set up until like 9:30, and then our first game started at 10 o'clock. So we didn't have all that time to prepare. Maybe Fnatic had a little bit more time, but when it comes down to it, it was us making mistakes. We threw away rounds that we shouldn't have, and it cost us in the end.
Just as a kind of side note, when you come to tournaments like this and you do have those kind of issues like tables not set up, networks not working, heavy delays as we have here, no Wi-Fi, which is a pain in the ass if you're trying to use the internet for anything. How much do those problems get in your head at events like this?
It depends on the person. It depends on who's personally affected more than the other. For example, Swag, his network adapter wasn't working, so he had the least amount of time to set up. The admin said 5 minutes being the server, and he had just logged into Steam. So, yeah. I mean, it affects some players more than others. I personally get involved and try to speak with the admins and try to get them to sort things out. So it's personally draining for me to kind of run around, make sure that things are working, and I kind of get, I guess, taken out of it mentally, and so it does affect me more than others, I guess. But it depends on the players, it depends on the situation, depends on just the circumstances. Is it out of the admin's control, or is it, whose fault is it really? Is it just like just a standard delay, or is it something like someone actually screwed up? Yeah. So. Okay, so a little bit of fair to say. I mean, all LAN events have delays. Some people take it better than others.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about the structure of your team.
Sure.
So your core team members, let's see, Skadoodle, AZK, and Dazed, haven't had the best of luck over in Europe, right? They've bombed out of DreamHack, not so good at Katowice or Katowice. Yeah, to put it lightly. Obviously, you've changed. You're new. Swag's new. How's it going to be different this time around? What do you guys bring to the team?
More consistency, I'd say, above all. More input towards Days. Like, you need someone to kind of say, "Hey, you're on the right track. Keep doing this," or "You're too focused on one thing. We can do this instead because the enemy team's doing this." So, having input towards the strat caller is very beneficial. Having consistent players that kind of, even if they're not playing up to par, like everything else, they're doing properly. So even if I'm playing poorly, I'll still communicate. I'll still like make up for it by suggesting ideas, what we can do. I can provide motivation, or I can, if I'm dead and I'm spectating my teammates, I can make calls for them. So maybe that was lacking in other players. Also, swag is just insane.
Yep.
So,
putting it mildly again, I'd say, yeah.
Insane.
All right, well, let's talk about you and Dazed in that case, because I remember you guys back on Check 6, ESWC 2011.
Yep.
Yeah. Team kind of fell apart, and people were speculating that you and Dazed maybe weren't getting along. Again, AZK used to play for Team Dynamic. You didn't always have the best relationship with those guys, and yet here the three of you are together on a team. Is the bad blood buried? Was there ever any bad blood?
Most of the bad blood between like us and Dynamic, I guess that was more rivalry, as opposed to like personal vendettas. I mean, I'd played with AZK before I played with Dazed, and I'd left that team not because of AZK. I left for other reasons. And then I guess when we were playing with Dazed, we had, you know, he was the in-game leader, and then I was an in-game leader, and we kind of started fighting a lot. So there was a change. He ended up being removed from the team, and then we ended up playing again with him after Copenhagen games. So I mean, there was a time where we didn't get along, but then we kind of like put that aside, you know, 4 or 5 months later or something like that. So I mean, we all came together here. It's like no one has a problem with each other. We're all friends. We all kind of hang out together, do things together. We were in Montreal for the ESWC qualifier, and we all had a great time together. So that's all pretty much buried in the past. Hatchet gone. Just we all get along now.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah,
good to hear. And in terms of coming over to Europe and playing these teams, so I mean, Americans are coming over to Europe quite frequently these days. They have a lot of exposure, but I guess you have more than anybody, right? You played here for a year and a half or so. Yeah, you're gonna have to help me here. You played on MTW
Source, and then I moved to
Digitus.
Was Dig the next step for me? So it was MTW. It was MTW, and then it was like there was a period of nothing. Oh yeah, then we did go to Dig. Yeah, and then that didn't work out, so I stopped for a bit, and then I came back and I played with Reason for an event, and then
I'm glad you can't remember.
And then I played for Rasta for like an Epic LAN, but like all of the teams, I was working full time, so I wasn't actually like investing a lot of time. I wasn't streaming. I wasn't playing in my spare time. It was basically go to LAN events, you know, have a laugh with all the UK people and get drunk and play. Obviously, like I'm competitive. I wanted to win as well, but at the same token, it's just like you can't really take it that seriously.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. So this is more of a
this is business. This is like you've got to work hard. You've got to put your time into maintaining just everything as a team. You got to put time in as a team. You got to practice. You need to put time in individually. You need to make sure your aim's up to par. You need to make sure that you're always putting in hours so that you're never falling behind the other teams who put in a lot of time. So that means I'm streaming a lot now. And I'll try to play like seriously as much as I can when I'm streaming. Try to like actually practice my movement or aim angles, whatever I can do. But the other part of it is it's a stream. It's supposed to be entertaining. So I try to entertain by doing all sorts of. I have a wide spectrum of things I do on my stream.
I know. I've seen the stream. Does the fact that Valve are putting so much more money and effort into Counter-Strike now, like ESL 1 in 2 weeks' time, $250,000. Does that make it easier to focus on Counter-Strike more?
Definitely. I mean, if you look at the contrast between now and CSS, like years ago, there was nothing to play for back then. You'd spend so much money to get into an event where first place is like $10,000, and it's like, okay, well, if you have a sponsor, you know, they might cover half of that or all of it if you're lucky. If you don't have a sponsor, I mean.
Yeah.
So definitely there's a positive focus now that Valve's invested in CSGO, you know, more than just making constant updates. They're actually putting in money as well. That means that teams, you know, have more to play for. and then that means that there's more teams that are more active, there's more streams out, there's more news that's being covered, there's more casual user base, which means that there could be more tournaments. So it's a good way to kind of keep the ecosystem growing and healthy. So it's a very good step. It's progression in the correct direction.
Okay, I just want to ask you as well, because I read the Ask Me Anything on HLTV. You said you
I'm not telling you how much I earn or how I earn it.
Well, you did say the question was how much. Somebody asked how much money you guys made. You said that you had other means that you didn't want to specify.
Yeah.
So are you not working? Are you focusing entirely on Counter-Strike? Or
I don't have a full-time job.
It's Counter-Strike.
Yeah. Most of my time and focus is on Counter-Strike.
Okay.
I mean, there are other ways that like I'm not just sitting here playing games all day.
Yeah.
There's other things I do, but
nothing illicit.
Nothing illicit. No, it's not illegal. It's just like where I grew up. I don't know if it's North American culture or not. It's like you don't ask people, you know, how much money they make or how they make it. Like you can say, "Oh,
well, we don't hear."
Well, I'm in broadcasting, so I'm not going to tell people how much I make from streaming. I'm not going to tell people how much I make from, you know, through advertisements from other websites, for example. I'm not going to tell people that. Honestly, it's none of their business. It's only for me. I get by. I'm happy with doing what I'm doing, and that's all that matters. And when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter how much a person makes. It's none of their business, really. No.
So it's fun at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Well, it's okay.
Within reason. Okay. I'm aware that you have a match pretty soon, so I'll wrap this up.
Okay.
You have 4 more games today. Sorry. Yeah, 4 more games. There are 16 in the group. You're one of them. You've played one. You have 4 left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay, the basic arithmetic. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about how many hours it's going to be before we actually get them all done.
Right. Probably past midnight, I'd have thought. Anyway, so the teams you're facing, not thinking about time.
Okay.
The teams you're facing, who are you most wary of? Who have you been preparing for, and how are you preparing throughout today to face those guys?
Throughout the day, we can't prepare.
No.
We're not on the computers. We haven't prepared specifically for any teams leading up to the event. We kind of, you know, we had ESEA, we had the ESWC North American qualifier, and then we had like online games, online official matches.
Yeah.
So we haven't actually had time to actually practice specifically for any team, which means that the teams that we're most afraid of now that are left are NIP and Epsilon. I'd say I'm personally, I'd rather, you know, play NIP. Everyone studied them for so long. We know what to expect. We just need to make sure we're bringing our A game and hoping that they kind of make mistakes and they're not playing on fire as they normally do.
Yeah.
Epsilon, they have the shocks factor. You never know. Like, you know, if they're all on fire and they're hitting their shots, you know, they can be a force and they might gain a lot of momentum. But if they're not hitting their shots, or we're hitting our shots and we're outplaying them aim-wise, then, you know, it might be an easier road. So it's kind of like you never know what to expect from Epsilon. They're either really strong or really weak. NIP, they're usually really strong, but we know how they play. So I don't know. Between the two of them, they're the toughest opponents in this group, in my opinion.
Okay. And after this event, you have a boot camp at Gfinity's headquarters.
Yeah, their studio.
Yeah. So what are you going to be doing for the week and a half after this event, preparing for your ESL 1? Because obviously that's the big one, right?
Well, we're going to prepare for it whatever way we see fit, I guess. Like, we have the resources, so it's just up to us. What do we want to do with our time? Does that mean that we go in to servers, we find out really awesome pistol strats, we kind of like get them down so we win like every pistol round and ensure that we get like a 6-0 lead every match? Or is it that we're going to go in and practice our executions? Are we going to kind of like just play a lot of practice and work on our communication and our chemistry? We don't know yet. So I think we need to kind of go in, kind of test the waters, feel the waters, play a few practice games, and then go from there to say, listen, we need to spend more time on this aspect. Let's focus on this and then see where we are in a day or two. And if it means that, you know, we feel that we're ready, you know, a few days prior, maybe we take a day off type of thing and then don't burn ourselves out. Maybe if we feel like we're lacking in a certain area, we focus on that more and spend more time on it, even if it's boring for us. We just grind it out so we're completely okay with it. I mean, that's what the boot camp's for in the end.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I have no more questions. I do have to let you go.
All right.
Before we do go, you have a lot of sponsors on your shirt. Do you want to run through them?
Sure. I don't know if I'm in frame. I hope I am. If I'm not,
most of you should be.
Thanks to iBUYPOWER. I mean, they got us here. They got us to G3. They're getting us to the through the boot camp, and they're sending us to ESL1. That's iBUYPOWER. I mean, they're partnered with Intel, Western Digital, ASRock, AData, and Sennheiser. So thanks to all of them for kind of making this happen. And shout out to the manager, I guess, Impulsive, for being with us and buying us water. What does he do? He doesn't even do anything. Come on, Derek. What are you doing? I'm kidding. He's good.
All right. Okay, Josh, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. And I hope to grab you at some other point before the event's over.
Sure.
Best of luck for the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Yeah, hope you enjoy your time back in London.
Great.
For those of you on ESEAnews.com, stay tuned. We do have some internet issues here, so these interviews are going to be trickling up throughout the day. Trickling being the keyword in that sentence.
Night from the hotel.
Hotel, please. I live here too.
Oh, right. He's got a home. He's got a home.
I have a flat.
He's got a flat.
An apartment.
An apartment. No, I called him a flat. I had a flat here when I was here.
Is that the Canadian thing? Flat or apartment?
I have you would call it apartment, but I have a condo.
Right.
Condo is...
I don't know what a condo is.
A condo is like an apartment, but an apartment is...
We'll have this conversation afterwards. This is clearly of pressing importance. Anyway, yeah, ESEAnews.com throughout the weekend for full coverage of Gfinity 3 LAN.